Hi class, today's lesson is lesson 3-7, dividing by decimals. Purpose for this lesson is simply to divide decimals by decimals. We learned how to divide decimals by whole numbers in the last lesson. Today it's dividing them by decimals. No new vocabulary today, but what I do want you to do is to copy down this table. There's obviously 5 rows by 5 columns. You don't have to worry about these last 2 columns. And this is a good place to pause so you can copy it down. In the first case, we've got a division equation. 600 divided by 300 equals 2. I think we can all see that 2 times 300 would give us 600, so obviously that works. Now, when we go about making this into a new equation, and we decide to divide both the dividend and the divisor by 10, we form a new equation. 600 divided by 10 is 60. 300 divided by 10 is 30. We have a new equation. So 60 divided by 30, what is the answer? Well, look, the answer is the same answer with a 2. Let's do the same thing again. Divide by 10 here. Our new equation is not 60 divided by 30, but it becomes 60 divided by 10 is 6, 30 divided by 10 is 3, 6 divided by 3 is 2. Obviously, it's a basic math fact, right? What happens when we further divide the dividend and divisor by 10? What happens is we come up with 6/10 divided by 3/10. And what do you think that will end up being? Well, if you guess 2, you're absolutely correct. Now, we're going to do the reverse. This time, I'm going to take it and multiply by 10. I'm going to duplicate this. Multiply not only the dividend by 10, but the divisor by 10. And when we multiply both these by 10, we get the new problem up above. And that new problem up above allows us to have the same answer once again. What happens when we multiply this problem by 10? Divisor and the dividend. Well, we get 60 divided by 30, which gives us the same answer. So what we're doing here is we're essentially multiplying both the dividend or divisor and divisor by the same power of 10 and getting the same answer. So that's going to help us when we divide fractions. Let's look at this. Here we have 3 6/10 divided by 1 and 2/10. 3 6/10 divided by 1 and 2/10. The rule about division here is that you need to get rid of any decimals in the divisor. Well, how do we get rid of this? How do we get the decimal to become to come over here to become a whole number of 12? Well, the answer is we multiply by 10. Let's turn back to that example of in the table. When we multiply both the dividend and divisor by 10, we get the same problem, only now it's going to be in whole number form. The answers will be identical. Going back to the problem, now we move that decimal over one place value because it's a 10. 1 0, move it over. So now it's 36 divided by 12. This will give us the same answer as this problem. This will give us the same answer as this problem. How many 12s in 36? Well, there are 3. One thing that I forgot to do at the beginning, of course, is estimate. If I look at 3 6/10, that's around a 4. If I look at 1 2/10, that's about a 1. 4 divided by 1 is 4. Is 3 pretty close to 4? Absolutely. Next, we're going to take 42 3/10 and divide it by 12/10. Let's go ahead and write it as if we were going to divide it. This time, I have 12 hundredths here, not 12 tenths, but 12 hundredths, and I need to make this into a whole number. Well, how do I do that? multiplying by 10 is not going to be enough. If I multiply by 10, it's going to be 1 2/10. I need to multiply it by 100. That would bring that decimal over 2 places. 12 hundredths times 100 would be a 12. Now, if I'm going to multiply that by 100, I need to multiply the other side by 100 as well. When I do that, I move the decimal point over 2 places. 4,230. Now, how many 12s go into 42? Well, I know there are 3. That gives me 36. 42 subtract 36 gives me a 6. I drop down the 3. 12 into 63. I know 5 times 12 is 60. Subtract that, I get a 3. I bring down the last number, which is a 0. 12 into 30, I know is going to be 2 times. So 2 times 12 is 24. And I have a remainder of 6. Now, usually we'd stop right there, 352 remainder of 6, but now that we know how to divide by decimals, we're going to continue. So no more will we have the remainder. So we're going to take the remainder out, and instead we're going to add a decimal point. The decimal point up here, decimal point down here, they are aligned, and we're going to add a 0 on that right side of the decimal. What does that do? Well, it doesn't change the value at all, but it helps us with division. So we're going to drag that 0 down, place it right next to the 6. How many 12s go into 60? Well, there's going to be 5, because we know that from right here. So now our remainder of 6 is turned into 5/10. So our answer is 352 5/10. Next, we've got a word problem. Here, after driving 368 5/10 miles, Julie and her family refilled the tank of their car with 13 4/10 gallons of gasoline. On average, how many miles did they drive per gallon of gas? So here we're setting up another division problem. If we divide 368 5/10 miles by that 13 4/10 gallons of gas, we'll find out how much they actually did drive per gallon of gas. How do we do this? Well, we need to get rid of that decimal in the divisor. So we're going to go ahead and figure out how far do we have to move that decimal. We have to move it over 1, which means we're actually multiplying by 10 over here. And we also have to do that to the divisor. We'll multiply that by 10 as well. Our new division problem is 134 into 368 and 5/10. No, it's 3,685. Let's go ahead and go through the division process. Now, it's a 3-digit into a 4-digit, but we can do it. 134 goes into 368, we'll say twice. 2 times 4 is 8. 2 times 3 is 6. 2 times 1 is 2. We have 8. We are going to subtract 268 from 368. So that's 0, 0, and then 1. We bring down that 5. When we bring down that 5, we know that it's going to be a bigger number that we're trying to get into. So let's try. We know that 10 times 134 is 1,340, so that's too big. We're going to take a guess here. Let's try the 7. 7 times 4 is 28. 7 times 3 is 21, plus 2 is 23. 7 times 1 is 7, plus 2 is 9. So we have 938. Let's go ahead and it looks like it's a pretty good shot. Make sure that it does work here. You're going to subtract this. 15 subtract 8 is 7. 9 subtract 3 is 6. So yeah, that works pretty well. But once again, I don't have any more numbers to pull down, so I've got to add a decimal point and a 0 to the end. So I'm adding that decimal point both to the dividend and the quotient, and they're aligned. Bring down the 0. How many 134s into 670? Well, it looks like 5 times 100 is about 500. So 5 times 134, I'm hoping, gets me close to 670. 5 times 4 is 20. 5 times 3 is 15, 16, 17. Looks pretty good. And then 5 times 1 is 5, plus 1 is 6, 670. So I have 0 there. Great. So my answer here is 27 and 5/10. 27 and 5/10 what? 27 and 5/10 miles per gallon. All right. Your turn. It's to complete the problem. These are the 2 problems that I want you to go ahead and solve. And remember, when you actually put them inside of that division algorithm, under that division bar, you're going to have to change these divisors. All right, we'll see you in class.